Cheese.
Yeah. Bye, Josh. Oliver.
Just give us 2 minutes. Let's do one thing at a time, eh? Right.
You gonna fight? You just shield out. You just shield?
It's called the Cat Woman. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to give you a bit of history first. But he does like learning stuff. We all like learning stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit anyway. So, it's important for the story. Basically, the story is set during the 17th century, so a very long time ago. And we had a lot of things going on in England at the time. We had a civil war, people were fighting each other all over the place. Very nasty. And we had the first execution of a king in British history. King Charles I was executed. The first time a king had ever been executed. And for 11 years, Britain was ruled without a king or a queen or anything. So we had no monarchy at all. And basically, a chap called Oliver Cromwell, he declared himself Lord Protector of the new Commonwealth. They love their titles, don't they? They love these titles. Anyway, and during that time, between 1649 and 1653, you're never going to remember that, a so-called rump parliament basically sat. So we had a parliament that's basically friends of Oliver Cromwell. And a lot of them were very religious, and they were fanatically religious, and they were a bunch called the Puritans. And basically they didn't believe that anybody should have any fun at all. No fun. So they basically made laws to compel people to go to church, and they stopped people from dancing and having fun, all of that. And they even at one point wanted to try and ban Christmas. Can you imagine that? No Christmas. What would life be like without Christmas? No, exactly.
Careful, Ollie. I'll be careful.
Health and safety be damned. So this is a reconstruction of a Bronze Age roundhouse from around 800 BCE, based on evidence of archaeological excavations at Beeston Castle. There was Bronze Age forts here in around 1000 BCE, and it was nearly 2,200 years later that the medieval castle was built.
So what questions were you asking?
Is it on about 1000
Leave that
BC?
I was reading like
1000 BC? About that, yes. The same sort of tools that the original builders had. So they were using hand tools. Not. I won't spoil any photos.
Oh, I can see another clue.
Where?
Top by that tree.
Oh yeah, I can see it. But I want to go and read it.
We will.
Finally. I'll go.
They have little black dots.
What do you mean?
You can see what fields have animals in them because you can see.
Josh, because we're in England.
Oh, you don't know. Could be in Wales.
I do know where we are. We're in England.
Whereabouts?
Cheshire.
Cheshire.
Yes.
Do you mean Chester?
Nope, I mean Cheshire. Cheshire is the county. Chester is a town, well, a city.
Whereabouts is Chester?
Over this way. So this is the view from Beeston Castle. But I mean, I guess that still makes it a castle. It's just not a medieval castle.
We need 5 and sound.
So this is an arrow loop that would have been used to give the archers enough space to shoot at a much larger range whilst still being protected by the walls. It would have been demolished, much like a lot of castles were at the end of the English Civil War, as punishment. So people couldn't use them. In the future as strongholds. Here's another arrow loop here. Would have been an archer or a crossbowman shooting down as the attackers tried to come up that really steep hill to take over. Would have been a very difficult castle to assault. What did you wish for when you threw your penny down the well?
2 things I wished for.
Oh, go on then.
Talking planets
Talking planets.
and moons and me have rockets for legs and a cannon arms.
Okay, how are you going to eat your dinner if you've got cannons for arms?
Yeah.
I mean, just one arm is going to be
Oh, okay.
I don't know what I wish for.
What did you wish for, Josh?
£1 million so we could cover our energy bills for like 2 months.
Beeston Castle is said to be the 6th most haunted castle in England. 2 buried bodies were discovered at the top of the castle by archaeologists. They are thought to be Civil War soldiers, probably royalists, who died during the siege. Records also show that there were fatal accidents in the caves in the 19th century. Since then, people have reported seeing figures and hearing ghostly voices at Beeston. This looks like it was probably the kitchen, because that looks like a chimney that would have been used for cooking food. Ollie is food!
It's his cave. It's his spy cave.
Mommy!
Ah! Attackers! Go away, royalist scum! Royalist scum! So Beeston Castle was built in the 1220s by Ranulph de Blondeville, who was the 6th Earl of Chester on his return from the Crusades. Henry III took over the ownership of Beeston Castle in 1237, and it was kept in good repair until the 16th century, when it was considered to be of no further military use. Although it was pressed into service again during the Civil War in 1643. Partly demolished in 1646 in accordance with Cromwell's destruction order, where he knocked down lots of castles to stop their being used in future rebellions. What do you think they used to have in there?
Crocodiles. Big spikes.
They probably wouldn't have had anything, to be honest. Didn't need to.
It would have been water.
Wouldn't
It should have drained away.
Well, they wouldn't need to anyway, would
Where do
they?
you get the source of water from?
That well.
Good George Green.
There's a lot of Henrys in that
Wait,
version.
what was your last? What was your last line of the thing where it goes.
George, Will, Victoria,
Edward.
Edward, George, Liz, and Queen Charles III completes
Queen
our...
Charles III?
King Charles III completes our list.
That's on.
Beeston Castle was a Victorian holiday destination.
It's a pit in the ground.
And this is where they used to kill the kiddywinks for being naughty. And they used to throw their bodies in the pit.
They didn't.
You don't know that.
Well, nobody.
There is a ghost of a child there! This is the outer curtain wall of Beeston Castle. So not only would you have to assault up the hill, you'd have to get past the outer defences first as well, which were quite formidable, one might say. No,
And they're inside the dungeon.
oh no.
Holly.
Holly? Can you go get in the dungeon? How do I get in the dungeon?
Put your arm through. Daddy, put your arm through.
I'm in the dungeon. I'm out of the dungeon.
Huddle together for warmth. The birds are swaying, the trees are singing, we're all having a lovely time. Come and join us, front and centre, don't worry. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the A to Z of torture and execution. Now, hopefully as the title suggests, this is going to be a comedy show. So anyone who is hoping to come to a lecture about looking at the clinical, in-depth analysis of the effects of torture, presented in an academic and educational way, this is not the show for you. No. So, however, I can promise that pretty much everything that we say this afternoon does have merit and was actually used on actual people from history who actually suffered horribly and died.
Yeah, before we start a show, we think it's really important to mention that the fact that all of these things you're about to see have been used in real life, and some of them are still in use around the world today. And we'd like to assure everybody here that if any of the content of this show was ever inflicted upon any of you, you would certainly not find it amusing.
So, we have a lot of death and dismemberment to get through, so let's get cracking. Starting right at the very beginning, we have A is for axe, a tool of execution used for beheading people.
Beheading is when you chop someone's head off.
I think they did know that.
Yeah, but then we've got A and B, see?
All
Do it
together
at
the same
once.
one? Oh, that's really good. 2 points. Okay, so.
Yeah, okay, so we're actually quite amazed that anybody ever used an axe, because it's very inaccurate. The blade blunts easily, and it also notches if it hits something hard. Now, if you're executing people, what do you think it might hit that was hard?
The bones.
The bone,
yeah, bone in the neck, yeah,
crunchy
so it
bit
gets
in the
notched if
middle.
that
And actually took
it took a lot of wax to get somebody's head off as well.
really kind of gristly and kind of tough to get through the whole head.
Yeah.
A good example of this, not for him, was the execution of Thomas Cromwell. Observers of the time said that the executioner on the day did a butcherly and ungoodly job, by which I think we can assume it took him more than a couple of whacks to get the job done. Can we have an example of a butcherly and ungoodly
Against my
job?
professional nature, but go on then, yeah.
Executioner's block. Let's get rid of the entrails from the last one. Executioner's block. Couple of whacks to get the job done. Maybe just trim the top of the head off a little bit. Come on, he's had a few drinks the night before. He's a bit tired. He's not. Oh, missed. Okay, maybe trim his. No. Okay, come on. Oh, just the top of the. Oh, there we go. Oh, Julienne style there. Kind of boulanger. Excellent. Okay, so that's A and B done. Oh, you've got shoulder as well. Nicely done.
That wasn't this time. That one never did that time.
That's a big splinter. I need to be really careful. I don't want to hurt myself.
No, you don't. No, that's true.
So that's A and B done. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't like that, there's only 24 more to go.
So C is for crucifixion. Now you've probably all heard of this one. You read the Bibles, yeah? Know what crucifixion is? Well, those of you who don't, and anyway, we're going to describe it in horrific detail.
So our class actually starts life on the floor, and we take our victim to the execution site, and we tie the arms, lay them on the cross, and tie the arms and legs to the relevant bits of wood.
No, if you're feeling mean, you nail them to the wood. No. There you go. Nail to the wood. Got them.
There we go, and then we simply hoist into place.
There you go. Now, the really nasty thing about crucifixion is it's not a very quick way to go. If you're given a footrest, and some of them were, That's actually not a good thing, because then you'd eventually die of exposure. Otherwise, you'd die of strangulation.
Yeah, now the thing is though, if your victim here is kind of eking it out, kind of making a noise and a bit of racket, whinging and moaning, it's tired,
Break his legs.
break his leg. So, that's
D is for defenestration.
from the Latin root fenestras, or we might recognise the French a little bit better, fenetre.
Anyone do
Anyone
French?
know what a fenetre is?
Window.
Window, lovely. So we come to our window, not a ground floor window, no. We go up a nice tall tower. And up a nice tall tower, we opens our window. There's a lovely view, lovely view. We opens our window and
Oops!
Oopsie daisy.
That's in the Bible, this one. Apparently this is how Jezebel was
They're
dispatched.
not strictly judicial, but
No, we like that one.
Okay, here's execution.
Execution isn't an execution method.
No, but you see, I thought it was really clever to get the definition into the AZ.
But you mean you want these people to go away having learned something?
Yeah.
Well, hurry up, I can already see their eyes glazing
Okay.
over.
Execution is the carrying out of a sentence of death on a condemned person. That is how the Oxford English Dictionary describes the word.
I think I already knew that.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as informative as I'd hoped. Come on, let's move on to F.
F then. F is for flaying. Yeah, flaying. Okay.
Our first torture method.
First torture.
Flaying is the removal of skin to cause pain.
So this is naughty vegetable. What do we want to know? We want to ask him some questions. We want to know the answers to. What should we ask him?
So the torturer wants to eke it out. It's not a method
What?
of it.
Where's the treasure?
Where is the treasure? Tell us, tell us. Where is the treasure?
Okay,
I ain't
where's
gonna
the treasure? Come on, tell us. Yeah,
I ain't gonna
tell us.
tell you.
Where's the treasure? Yeah. Come on. What? No. Where's the treasure? Come on.
Open the back of his head. There we go.
Still alive, huh?
Okay, so G is for guillotine, a really iconic method of execution, and it was invented in France.
Yeah, although the idea for a machine for cutting off people's heads has been around for centuries before the guillotine came along, I think we can honestly say the French perfected it with the guillotine, really.
So the first customer to Madame de Guillotine was a highwayman. He was Nicolas Jacques Pelletier, and he lost his noggin in 1792.
Now, you might be surprised to know that the French used the guillotine until relatively recently. The last person to be guillotined was Hamida Djandoubi. I've never had trouble all week with Hamida Djandoubi in 1977, ladies and gentlemen. 1977.
I knew that because it's like when I was born.
With guillotines is they're big, they're cumbersome, they're expensive, and we don't have one. So moving on, H. H is for hanging.
Oh, hanging, yeah.
So hanging is I suppose, historically the most common method of execution in history in the world ever. Is still used in parts of the world today, and the earliest records of judicial hanging we have come from 3000 BC from the Persian Empire.
There's 4 different types of hanging. So there's short drop or strangle hanging, which was the method used in England up till the middle of the 19th century, until a very clever man called Dr. Samuel Horton. He invented what's known as standard drop hanging. Now, Dr. Horton worked out that a drop of between 1.2 and 1.8 metres was the perfect distance to break the neck of the condemned and give them a merciful death. And this was the method used in England from 1866 till 1964, the last one.
So we then also have the calculator drop, or the long drop, developed by William Marwood, who worked out a chart that took into account the victim's height, weight and neck width. So that does happen, yeah.
Stop being naughty!
And so that the executioner could work out the drop distance and the rope width to, again, give the victim a nice merciful death. It was merciful, but it was also really messy, because the chart could give you drops of up to 10 feet or 3 metres for those in new money, and often led then to this happening.
Oh no, his head's come off.
It does, really, it's right off. We then have suspension hanging, which sort of works the other way. You start on the ground, lift you up from the bottom. Okay, H-I.
I is for...
I is for Iron Maiden.
Oh yeah, I like that band, yeah, because you see, I like a bit heavy metal, me.
No, the Iron Maiden torture method. Iron Maiden is like a tailored coffin. It's like a Savile Row coffin. Kind of nice and snug fitting, really nice, and it is full of inverted spikes. So we take our coffin and we gently close it around our victim, spikes all the way in, and it's kind of covered in rust and tetanus, gets nice and infected, really grim, and then you open it out, so when you start to kind of squirt and bleed out.
Yeah, he gets the point though, doesn't he? Gets the point. Anyway, next J is for Judas Cradle, and Judas Cradle is a big wooden pyramid on 4 legs. Now, we haven't got one of those. We haven't got one of those. So we're going to represent it by this stool, 3 legs, and this piece of chocolate here. So there you go, there's our pyramid. A nasty pyramid. And then basically, the victim, have you got a victim?
Here we go.
Got too many victims here. Basically what you do with this is the point of the pyramid goes up the bottom. Okay, so up the bottom like that, and then you ask the victim questions as he's lowered onto it. Until he answers you, see? So it's actually a method of torture and not execution at all. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one pretty grim. So K then. K is for knife.
Good night.
Okay, so knife, simple device with so many uses.
Yeah, so you can cutting things, slicing things, chopping things, poking things, removing things, threatening to remove things.
Yeah, but probably the worst execution method using a knife was the death by 1,000 cuts. Probably in China this one was. Execution has a basket of knives. Each knife has the name of a body part on it. And the executioner reaches into the basket, pulls out a knife, whatever body part is on that knife, that's what he cuts off.
Oh, that's so exciting, kind of not knowing what comes. So, death by 1,000 cuts, lots of little things. What little things can we cut off? Nose is a good one. Imagine sneezing with no nose, it's really messy. What else? Tongue, I like this, they're a gory lot.
Especially if
Ears.
Eyes.
Sorry?
Eyes.
Oh, that one's nice. Hands. Yeah. Oh, wait,
No, you're not. No, not yet. Okay, so he's almost dead, but then we give him a nice slide down, and then we do the drawing. No, we don't get our pencils, we get a knife, and we cut his belly open like that, and then we reach in, and we make all these entrails, extrails. Yeah, well, there you go. Oh, everywhere they go, yeah. So that's the hanging drawing.
Here comes the cue. Quartering.
And then we got the quartering.
How many bits in a quarter?
4.
Oh, excellent. And we take the
Chop
4
his arms and legs off.
and we display them in the 4 corners of the country.
1,
2,
2, 3,
3, and a 4.
4. There you go.
Hanging drawing and quartering. Nicely done. That's a good one.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one. I like rat. Rat. Oh, slightly wet rat now. Rat. Squeaker. Our hungry rat has not been fed in about 4 days. Squeaker. So we put our rat in a bucket.
Bucket.
And we place the bucket over the victim's chest. We're feeling really nasty, the face. And then what we do is we apply heat. Heat to the bucket.
Oh, no.
Now our rat becomes worried. Our rat becomes worried because he's hot and he can't get out. But he does go, ho ho ho. What I can do is I can eat through the soft squishy bits. No.
That's got to work, isn't it? That's got to work. Anyway, S is for Scold's Bridle, and this one is for the ladies. So, gents, if your missus is giving you too much lip, all you've got to do is report her to the local magistrate. If she's been found guilty of being a scold, she'll have to wear an iron mask that clamps her mouth shut. And for added insurance, the mask has a mouthpiece with a spike on it that goes underneath her tongue. So if she continues to tell you off for buying beer or going to footy, she'll rip her mouth to shreds. Huzzah!
Hey!
Hooray for the patriarchy. Anyway, T is for thumb screws.
Oh, I like thumbs.
Show us your thumbs.
Yep.
Show us your thumbs.
Remarkably sensitive, your thumbs.
Cherish
you might not know
your
that, but
thumbs.
they are remarkably
So
sensitive.
we have thumb screws.
So we are.
Iconic method. Okay, really iconic
Got
method.
very orange thumbs.
Does, yeah, so
I
nice
should see a
big
doctor about that.
chunky thumbs. So used a lot during the Spanish Inquisition, and we have our thumb screw here
Nobody
represented by
expects
this fine B&Q clamp. So what we do basically is we put our thumb in a clamp and we apply pressure.
We ask questions. If they don't ask the questions, we squeeze.
Apply pressure to our thumb, and it goes.
Oh.
Oh, that's a good one. Actually. There we go. So thumb screws, P-U-R-S-T-U.
Alright, unless we move on, we won't get finished. So V.
Not bad. V is for vertical saw. Which way is vertical? up and down.
Oh, wait, no.
That way. Horizon, horizontal, vertical, up and down. So we reckon actually that is how St George met his end.
Yeah, basically start here and work down. Although sometimes they turned you upside down and oh no, we won't talk about
TUVW. We said we got a good W for you.
Oh yeah,
Wheel.
W is for the wheel. Now the wheel is one of the worst execution methods ever used. It's probably in France up till the end of the 18th century. And it's called the wheel or the Catherine wheel. Now, do you know what a Catherine wheel is? What's a Catherine wheel? It's a firework, isn't it? Well, that firework is named after this hideous, horrible execution method. So think about that the next time you have your firework night, because we think it was used to martyr St Catherine. Now, the wheel involves tying your victim to a wheel and then using an hammer to break as many bones as possible while still keeping the victim alive.
So the number of blows depended on the severity of the crime, and then eventually the coup de grace, the killing blow, would be administered to the chest or the head.
Bye bye.
If you were really naughty, the killing blow would not be administered, and your arms and legs, which by now would turn to jelly, would be threaded through the wheel until you succumb, basically. Really horrible, really nasty on that one.
Okay, BWX.
X is for the Duke of Exeter's daughter, which was the English nickname for the rat.
Oh, I don't know, that might be a bit of a stretch.
See what you did there?
X. Go on then, Y. Y is your turn.
Y is for noise people make when they're being executed or tortured. It is, honestly.
That is the worst pop-up that you've come up with so far. Come on, we promised them an A to Z, and it's incomplete. We said 26, and it's not even the full thing. So I bet you don't even have anything for Z either.
Ah, Z, yeah, I do actually. Z is for Zanzi, and it's a really horrible one to finish with as well. Zanzi, basically you take 6 sticks. We can't count, no way.
Yeah, some sticks. Here's our hand.
And we place them in between and around the fingers.
It is still just as painful, don't worry. It's not like a percentage job. Not less painful.
Our victim
with
is
fewer
suffering from
sticks.
jaundice, I reckon. But anyway, so so then we tie a piece of string around them, and then we ask them questions.
What is the final thing that we can find out from this rubber glove?
Any questions you want to know about this rubber glove?
Your food.
How do you eat your food?
Yeah.
How do you eat your food?
How do you eat your food?
I'm not telling you nothing.
He's not telling us nothing. So we tighten the string, tighten the string. Oh!
Oh, no.
And that squeezes the fingers together agonisingly. It's a really, really horrible one. Oh, don't like that one at
So,
all.
ladies and gentlemen, on that definitely not underwhelming finish, that brings us to the end of our A to Z, a very nearly complete 26 methods of torture and execution for you. Thank you very much, and we hope that while we've taken a very serious subject, and we hope that we've kind of presented it in a fun and light-hearted way, because you know what, otherwise the last half hour would have been
Pretty depressing, really.
yeah, really grim.
Depressing, yeah.
So, thank you very much for joining us for our little bit of silliness.
So this is what the castle would have looked like in its heyday. This model shows the castle in the late 13th century. Prehistoric defences, although very much eroded, were probably prominent enough to influence the position of the outer wall and gateway of Sir Ranulph de Blondeville's new castle.
The mini version of the mini castle.
Wow. So this is what it would have looked like in the Iron Age. It would have had earthen mounds and wooden palisades all round the outside, and lots of little houses all the way round, like the one we saw earlier. You have been watching Munchy Road Hippopotamus. Follow us on Twitter at Munchy Road and on Instagram at Munchy Road Hippopotamus. Don't forget to like, subscribe and add a comment. All these good things help us defeat the evil that is the YouTube algorithm.